Greetings and welcome to Cosmere U. I'm Zaladrith and I'll be your instructor for today. Today's class is The Returned, or There and Back Again. Spoiler warning. Everything in the fantasy genre is at risk of being spoiled here without exception, including unwritten and upcoming books. This may sound dramatic, but I'm going to use everything at my disposal to guess at Brandon Sanderson's inspirations while writing his books. Unlike my last lecture, we will mix in a few real solutions as well as numerous theories as we delve ever closer to the beyond. After the release of Wind and Truth at the end of 2024, we had all the clues we needed to deduce these secrets, but it has taken us over a year and a half to even conceive Brandon Sanderson's challenge, the secrets hidden in the names of the returned. If you're inspired by puzzles and want to test your wits and innovate on your own solution, accidentally watching this video may lose you the chance to solve the fate of the Cosmere for yourself. But don't listen to wit, just because you didn't do it first doesn't mean it doesn't have value. So if you want to leave the lecture hall, this is your final warning. But for the doubtful, or for those who just want to know, here are the spoilers we will cover. We'll start by showing many conspicuously related book titles, the 12 unbound Yolish surges, how to categorize the books, who the Night Brigade are, what Voidbringers are, the Returned and the Beyond, the Fourth Wall, and describe the Great Hunt. Concerning the Returned, this lecture is largely concerned with the Returned, and from its chapters a viewer may discover much of its characters and a little of their history. So when I was looking for quotes to support the pairing of intermediate shards with the shard cleaving rule, I noticed something odd while digging through the various plots. For instance, here's an interesting plot synopsis involving a keeper of the past carrying artifacts with secrets contained within them, experiencing catastrophe, realizing their understanding of history was flawed, and in the end gaining great power to reshape the world around them instead of simply preserving it. You guessed it, this is the story of Enigma Lights series. I meant this plot synopsis. So our hero has a missing brother, is met by a mentor, gets dragged from her original life and into a dangerous and high-stakes conflict. Their journey takes them through tunnels and ruins, and eventually they discover a centuries-old conspiracy that threatens to ruin civilization. Yep, this is Vin from the Enigma Lights series again. Wait, what's the name of book 2 over there? There's something weird with these release dates. And that's when I realized there's some kind of grand conspiracy going on. Let's take a look at this one. Our main character is a teenager with headaches, heightened vision and hearing, facing persecution in a world where the sun is blocked by an inhospitable environment. Society is frozen in time, and those in power claim to be protectors, but really are jailers. Yeah, this time it has to be Mistborn. It's definitely Spook OK, First Light. Well, at least it's a different book series. But check out those book names. It looks like a scale of first to last means something here. And most likely this book called The Mist means something too. The setting seems familiar. And here's Stormborn, Misfit Crew. First Storm, purpose is to fight a multi-generational war, seems like a pretty familiar cause. Last Storm, a romance with a mix of Vin, Ellen, and Tensoon type characters. Firstborn, a romantasy where life paths are assigned based on birth order. Lastborn, also a social standing based on birth order, where a desire to heal pulls the main character on a journey to a wider universe. This could be a prediction of Lift's upcoming story arc. So I started looking for references across these, and they wouldn't stop appearing, even if it was just a little bit. In fact, every book I seemed to find was up for grabs. They all had major plot points that all seemed to connect. I italicized these 4 titles that don't yet exist. And some of these, like Lightsong and Warlight, are probably going to be books in the future. But also some of the existing ones seem unrelated, but I saw way more similarities than should be coincidence. There are also some extreme similarities in books separated a few steps from our core. For instance, if you travel from Stormlight to Memories of Light to Memories of Ice, you get Relane's story. I suspect that books that are one step away and swapping half the title out will manifest viewpoint or major characters in the books, while the farther away you get, the more secondary characters you get. Here are a few of the infinite other books that I noticed sharing plot similarities while chaining with this rule. Some of these titles are newer, implying Brandon may be working with other authors to manifest the pattern even more strongly. So I won't go into them all here, but do note that some characters like Shallan have multiple characters that combine into them in the same book, like Arya Stark as Vale, Sansa as Radiant, in addition to just having arcs from multiple other books too. The number of Easter eggs and references in all these books is simply mind-blowing. But anyway, back to names. I remembered I often saw swords that have a similar naming pattern, like Oathbringer, Sunraiser, Firestorm. I tried to see if there were links to swords in other fantasy books. In fact, I wonder if Firestorm actually traveled to the worlds of Game of Thrones and Red Rising and achieved wondrous deeds with a different name. But my biggest surprise is when I stumbled upon the Book of Swords series. These swords seem remarkably like the Honor Blades. I tried mapping them to the orders of Knights Radiant and realized that this is where the 12 unbound Yolish surges come from. By swapping the halves, you get 10 sets of words that perfectly describe the surge bindings, with 2 leftover Yolish surges that we'll get to next lecture. But this means that Yolish was originally the world of Book of Swords. So going back to the other worlds, other swords, I also found that in Red Rising, there's not that many swords, but there are a lot of ships. Yes, there is a book of ships, which is basically just a category book of pretty ships of all kinds. But the way that they organize these ships is incredibly interesting. They classified them by era, function, propulsion, name, which kind of reminds me of the 4 realms. I believe there's a way to calculate a Cosmere book title from the genre, the time period, perhaps the themes or motivations. So some ideas for naming by genre include looking at Hoid's travails. They tend to have longer names, giving us more information. For instance, I think the shorter the name, the closer the tone is to grimmer and darker. The longer the name, the more cozy or whimsical. And adding words like and will add in some more romance, and of will imply more high fantasy. As for eras, they're also not arbitrary, as we can see from the books of magic. You see, after finding Book of Swords and ships, I figured I might as well just search for books of books, and I was immediately rewarded. And reading this seems to perfectly describe time periods that we could also map to the 4 realms. So reading this seems to first also describe the Knight Brigade pursuing wit. This will prove incredibly important in the next lecture, but for now, let's talk about the Voidbringers. While Voidbringers on the small scale were the Parshendi, and on a more historical scale were the humans from Ashen, there's always a larger scale, like the Fused. And just the Voidbringers are the very concept of the others. So to understand why there's always room outside the known Cosmere for more others to come, it's because of the Beyond. So the actors on the stage of the Cosmere can't break the 4th wall, but that doesn't mean that we can't hurl more stuff in. Just like in Flatland, placing a 3D object onto a 2D plane will only be perceived by them as a 2D object, and we're all in the Beyond. So now, what is the Returned? After going through so many books and seeing the same character living through so many lives in different books, it only makes sense to me that the visions of the Returned they experience are all from the different storylines they've lived from their previous returns. How many light songs and war breakers have there been in all the stories? As long as there are stories being written and conceived into the Cosmere, these ideas will grow and continue to repeat themselves. I believe that the Returned is the concept of the archetype itself. They represent us from the Beyond, endowing these archetypes with life. Their supplicants feeding their breaths represent readers of the books, paying homage to the various archetypes, reading their stories. But if a genre or story becomes unpopular, then they'll die out. But enough philosophies and on to new theories. So if you look at the first Returned, Vo gave 5 visions. Devotion was one of the first to splinter, and thus the first to return. I also have reason to believe that the 5 scholars are all shards who have returned, because of a book called The Shards. If this book literally called The Shards is related, then this implies 5 shards were splintered long ago, and Vasher killed 3 of them, leaving only Yessteel alive. In both, the same number of people survive, and the one most hated by our main character dies from a fall after a blade fight. And you may be thinking, well, how do I know that these other books are even related? Like, why does this plot matter? And this is because of Ready Player One. You see, while the characters within the Cosmere can't break the 4th wall, we on the outside can see in. In Ready Player One, the main character is an Easter egg hunter, a gunter, and needs to clear 3 gates in order to earn a large cash prize and inherit the legacy of a massive company. He needs to hunt across many worlds of pop culture to discover and clear these gates. So how does this translate in the real world? You'll find out more detail in my next video. But for now, it's your turn. Continue the investigation. You can race me to the gates. You can figure out the relationship rules between these book titles, calculate the titles and plots for Brandon's future books, figure out the identities of the 5 scholars, come up with new theories from the new information, and continue to prove, disprove, and leave comments on my findings. See you all at Dragonsteel Nexus 2026. This has been your instructor, Zeladrith. That's all for today. Class dismissed.